Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Living in Lansing, Michigan, your resource for everything you need to know about buying a home, selling a home, or living in the greater Lansing area. I'm Brooks Warner, and your host and local real estate agent at Mitten Home Team at Keller Williams Realty. Today, I have a special guest coming in, a good friend of mine, Dave Williams, who is an estate planning attorney, and he is going to be sharing very important information about estate planning and everything that goes into it. Before we get started, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to see future videos, because this is probably going to be a mini series with a couple different videos, as there is a lot to cover. This is a topic that's really hit me near and dear recently, as I've been dealing with it quite a bit, both personally and professionally, and there is a lot to know when it comes to estate planning. This is going to be a real hot topic over the next few years to a decade, as the baby boomers are continuing to age and leave their estates to their heirs. So let's go ahead and get started. Also, I almost forgot, if you have any questions related to this topic, go ahead and drop them in the comments. I'll make sure they get answered for you, or always feel free to email me, brooks@mittenhometeam.com. I answer questions like this all the time, and if I can't answer them, I'll get you in touch with David so he can help you out. Okay, we're back for video 4 of our mini series, and this time we're going to talk a little bit more about like power of attorney and other things that kind of go along with estate planning, but slightly different. But I will let David share with everyone what he thinks is important about this and what you need to do to be prepared.
Sure. So we've been talking a lot about wills, trusts, probate. When people come to me to talk about estate planning, that's usually what they're thinking about. I want to make a plan for who gets my stuff when I pass away, how do they inherit it, how can we avoid probate. And I'll usually say, that's really important, of course, but also important would be making a plan for what happens if you become incapacitated and can't manage things for yourself.
Okay.
So we want to make a plan for what happens when you pass away, but also what if I'm alive but I can't pay my bills?
Yeah.
Or I can't make my medical decisions.
And there's lots of ways that, especially an elderly person, could become incapacitated from a legal standpoint, right? So dementia would be one way that you could be incapacitated. Alzheimer's would be another one, I believe, right?
Right.
And then just like injuries or unconscious, like probably lots of different things.
Yeah.
Right? So what, maybe that's a good place to start. What constitutes someone being incompetent for being able to make their own decisions?
Right. So usually in our documents, we'll define that.
Okay.
So if it's a financial power of attorney or a trust, we'll say I'm considered incapacitated if I can't manage my financial affairs, essentially for any reason. We'll list it out due to age, illness, drug addiction, substance abuse, really any reason.
Okay.
But then the trigger is going to be defined in the document. So is it going to be effective immediately, where I make a power of attorney saying somebody can pay my bills for me right now? Or is it only if I'm incapacitated, in which case usually it's going to say when 2 doctors sign off.
Okay. Do you have a preference? Like, what's the thought process on how someone sets that up? Is it, okay, you're doing a trust for me and I'm young and healthy, so mine is the doctor thing, versus someone who's already on the doorstep of being incompetent? Right. So you, like, how do you decide which one is right for the person, I guess?
Yeah, typical attorney answer, it's gonna depend.
Yeah.
So a trust is gonna usually say, I'm the trustee. If I become incapacitated, resign, or die, then my successor trustee takes over.
Okay.
So if you are incapacitated, I always tell people, death and resignation, those are pretty easy to prove. I've got a piece of paper from Brooks that says I quit, or I've got a death certificate. So that's easy.
Okay.
Incapacity can be harder. So a lot of times in a trust, what we'll say is either, most trusts are gonna say, if 2 doctors certify in writing I'm incapacitated, then I am. I like to sometimes shorten that up and make it easier for the family, and we'll say we want that to be a private determination. If these few people I name and I trust say I'm incapacitated, then my successor trustee can take over.
So kind of random question. Let's say there's 3 people on that list. Does it have to be unanimous, or is it majority, or is it however the person wants it set up?
It's however they want.
Okay.
It can be either, and then we'll also always have backups. If they can't do it, a doctor can. If a doctor can't, we can still go to court. We're not giving up the usual ways of doing it. We're just trying to make it easier.
Okay.
So that can be a really good tool for the trust. The power of attorney is going to be who can do things for me financially for things that are not a part of my trust. Or if I didn't make a trust, if I did a will and a ladybird deed, who can sell my house if it needs to be sold?
Gotcha.
Who can deal with my bank account or my employer? And we're going to use powers of attorney whether or not we have a trust, but that one is either going to say it's effective immediately when I sign it, or it's springing, which means it's only effective if I'm incapacitated.
Okay.
You know, and if for a lot of our clients, you know, we do prefer powers of attorney to be effective immediately,
Yeah.
because it can be a lot easier for that agent. The key is that you're naming people that you trust,
Right.
trustworthy people that you can rely on. And if this person is not somebody you trust, you shouldn't name them, even if it's springing. You know, only if I'm incapacitated. You need to name people you trust.
Right.
You're giving them a lot of authority.
Because theoretically, someone could name, I'll use myself as an example, as their power of attorney effective immediately today, and I could really sell their house without their permission.
Correct.
Right? I can do anything at that point that they could do legally,
Right.
Unless it's a limited power of attorney that has limitations on it, I think.
Right.
Correct. But yeah, so you definitely, if it's going to be immediate, definitely going to be someone that you trust pretty strongly. I would think.
You definitely want to.
Yeah.
You're giving them a lot of authority, but you know, if you're saying I want to make it a little harder on them, you can say wait till we get 2 doctors to sign off.
Interesting.
Yeah, and the other one, you know, I think is important. Another document, you know, we talked about wills, trusts, financial powers of attorney. Another one that's important, not so related to real estate, but would be that healthcare power of attorney. Who can make medical decisions for me? And in general, what would I want those to be? So if we have a trust, a will, power of attorney, and a healthcare power of attorney, we've got a pretty complete estate plan.
Gotcha.
Or if you're just doing a will, if you still have those powers of attorney, you're, you know, depending on your situation, that might be all you need. But we want to make sure we're covering planning for what happens when you die, or planning if you're alive but can't take care of things yourself.
Anything else you want to share about that side of the estate planning journey?
You know, you mentioned limited powers of attorney, which are maybe a little different, but if you've got a client that's moving to Michigan from out of state, a lot of times one of the spouses will move here and find the house, but they want to buy a house jointly. The spouse that's not here could sign a limited power of attorney saying, I authorize my spouse to sign real estate documents for me. It's limited because it's limited to the real estate transaction.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that it can be even specific to a one individual house, not real estate in general.
It could be. It could be. Yep.
And it doesn't have to be your spouse. It could be anyone as well, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
But that can help make those real estate transactions be a little bit easier. You know, you're not doing mail away closings, sending overnight documents, or having somebody fly here to attend a closing.
Okay, so you did say something else to me that I wanted to kind of make sure we covered today, which was a scenario that I haven't personally ran into in real estate, but I can see how it could definitely happen. So power of attorney from a financial standpoint, when could that be used in general and in real estate?
Yeah, so what we might see sometimes in real estate would be a homeowner lists their house for sale, signs a purchase agreement, but if they became incapacitated before closing, if we have that estate planning power of attorney in place, it could say the person I named in my power of attorney can go finish that closing.
Gotcha.
It's not going to be specific to that deal, it's a broad power of attorney, but if we don't have that, and you have a seller that has agreed to sell their home, but now they're incapacitated, their family or next of kin or whoever has priority would have to go to court, get a conservatorship, delay a closing, and then with conservatorships, you also have to get permission to sell real estate, so a separate petition. So having these documents in place can really help in other situations that we don't even think about when we're making them, but having them in place can be very important.
Okay. Yeah. So what I took away from all of our videos is you don't want to go to probate. The will might be okay, trust is better, and you definitely need some power of attorney stuff set up to make sure all your bases are covered.
I think that's a pretty good summary.
Pretty good summary. Okay. Anything else you'd like to share with our audience before we wrap up our video? I think this is going to be our last video on this topic. So yeah, anything else?
I don't think so. I think we covered a lot. You know,
Okay.
we had a lot of good questions, and if you have any more, just let me know.
Okay. Awesome. Well, this was video 4 of this series. Hopefully this was informative and helpful for everyone who watched it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on notifications for future videos. Again, if you have any questions related to any of the videos that I put out, but specifically these ones, because these are pretty complex, please feel free to leave a comment and I'll reach out to you privately, or you can email me, brooks@mittenhometeam.com, and I'll be happy to answer anything that I can. Obviously, I'm not an attorney, so if it's attorney specific, I'll have to refer you to Dave or someone else. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and hopefully this was helpful.